Ohio State understands this isn't your normal Indiana football team, which is why the Buckeyes are laser focused on taking care of business against the Hoosiers.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we'll discuss if Ross Bjork will bring change to the shoe, as well as if Buckeye fans can trust Ryan Day this weekend. But before we get to any of that, it's all about Ohio State and Indiana, the top 5 matchup that'll be in Columbus, Ohio this weekend. And the Buckeyes cannot and will not overlook the Indiana Hoosiers this weekend. Trust me, it's one of those things. It's odd to say that IU is number 5 in the country. Indiana, a football program that's really bad. It's not known for success. All of a sudden, Kirk Cignetti comes in and literally breathes life into a pretty stagnant program. The fans are bought in. The program's bought in. He got a long extension, locked him up until 2032. There's a lot of good things going on with that football program, and Ohio State sees that. Ohio State sees the success that they've had this year, the belief in Kirk Cignetti. They have the players from the portal, some from James Madison, that have everybody believing that Indiana can win every football game. Indiana fans, that is. Ohio State fans, I don't think y'all truly think Indiana's going to win this weekend. I think most of you don't think that. There might be a couple sprinkled in that think Indiana's going to come into the shoe and beat Ohio State. But for the most part, everybody understands Ohio State's more talented than Indiana. They have more pros on their team. They have coaches that have done a whole lot of good things in college football, that Ohio State should be favored by double digits. But keep this in mind. It's very easy to fall into a trap the week before the Michigan game. It's also very easy to fall into a trap of realizing, man, it's a long season left in front of us. You got this game, got the game after, you win both those, you got the Big Ten championship, and then you got the outcome of that game, which that will decide if you get a bye or not in the upcoming playoff. Then you got more playoff games, which is what? A battle every time you're out on the field. Man, it would be easy to just pack it in, mail it in, only win by 1 or 2 and just say, hey, we won the game, enough said. It'd be so easy to just not give it your all, to not be laser focused. But you can't afford that right now. Ohio State's not in a situation where they can just say, we good. We good. We're not going to go all out. We're not going to do our thing. We're just going to lay back and kind of just sleepwalk through this thing like Ohio State has done at times this year. You sleepwalk, you still blowing teams out. Why? Because you're that good. This is not a game where you can come in and just sleepwalk through with the Indiana Hoosiers. Go look at the film. They do a lot of things right. One of those moments where you look out there and say, or you look at previously against this team, when you watch their film, you say, well, Nebraska's run defense is pretty good. But what did Indiana do against Nebraska? Ran all over. I mean, literally did whatever they wanted to do on the ground. That should raise your eyebrows, get your attention. Okay, what do they do on offense outside of running the ball? Well, everybody and their mama talking about Curtis Walker and these back shoulder throws that they throw at a great clip. Everybody and their mama talking about it. Okay, you got our attention. Okay, what else do they have? They also have a guy on defense that currently has 9.5 sacks right now. Oh, okay, Michael Kamara, you doing some things right. Oh, yeah, then you add in his 15 tackles for loss and his 39 tackles and 1 pass breakup, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 forced fumbles. That's just one guy alone. Oh, they got some players? Absolutely. So, of course, Curtis Walker's going to get the attention. The receivers are going to get the attention. But they have guys all over the place. And Ohio State sees that right now. They see the film. They see exactly what Indiana is, and they say, we're not going to overlook you. We're going to show you the same respect we've given Oregon, the same respect we've given Penn State, because you're that good. because you're blowing teams out. Your margin of victory, I think, is still 25 plus points a game. That's unheard of for this program. So what we're seeing right now is Ohio State with the leaders. And when I say the leaders, I'm talking about the guys specifically that have been there for a hot minute, that were recruited by Ohio State. Some of them decided to not go to the NFL, to stay in Columbus for one more year. I'm talking about them, a Jack Sawyer, a Twin Malowau, a Cody Simon the Block O, a Donovan Jackson, a Josh Fryer, guys that have been around for a minute, G. Scott Jr., Travion Henderson. Y'all been around for a while. Y'all seen a lot of things under Ryan Day. You've seen some wins. You've seen some losses. There have been lessons you've learned along the way, and now is the moment in this week to utilize all those lessons you've learned, put them into one game plan, and go out there and execute the best way you have ever at Ohio State. And that goes for all the players, all the coaches. This ain't just one of the weeks you can say, oh, we got that rivalry game the week from now, and so, yeah, I know it's a top 5 matchup, but we don't have to bring our A game. If you don't bring your A game, you might walk out of that stadium with an L. That's what's on the line right now. Aside from that, you also have what's on the line is potentially not making the Big Ten championship because you have 2 losses in the conference. And I know for a fact Indiana's not going to lose to Purdue the following week. Not going to happen. So you have potentially not making the conference championship game. Will guys end up saying, I'm done playing football here, I want to prepare for the NFL, even if Ohio State makes the playoff? Let's say Ohio State, hypothetically speaking, I don't think this is going to happen, but they're 10-2, don't make the conference championship, still make the playoff. Do you think there will be guys that decide to say, I'm going to opt out and not play in the playoff game because I'm going to prepare for the NFL? Possibly. Now, I don't think that it's highly likely, but it's possible because that's the world we live in right now in collegiate athletics. I can't stand opt-outs. I can't stand them. Not at all. I can understand why guys decide to opt out. That doesn't mean I have to stand. I have to be comfortable with it. No. Christian McCaffrey, about 10 years ago, sitting out of a bowl game, not a fan at all. Guys saying, I am going. Nick Bosa was one of them. Like, I like Nick Bosa. He was also hurt. And realized, man, if I'm out for the year, I'm good. I can understand. I completely understand that. I don't remember the severity of his injury, but I do know he had an abdominal injury against TCU early in that year in 2018. He decided to leave the team to go prepare for the NFL draft. That was his decision. I understand why he did that. But there's some guys, man, I'm not playing. I'm not a fan of opt-outs. I never have been. But I'm also not a fan of teams knowing you got a big-time matchup and not giving your all. You can't overlook this Indiana team. Can't believe I'm saying this. It's so weird. Because if you do, they'll beat you. And not just by a couple points or by a touchdown. It could be a 14-plus point win for the Hoosiers if Ohio State doesn't take them seriously. So I'll say 14 points. It'd be everybody in their mom on the team not really taking them seriously. Because if a couple bad apples are in there, I think this team is so strong and it's had so many leaders that they'll be able to overcome that 1 or 2 bad apples in this game. You can't overlook them, man. You overlook this team, you'll leave the shoe with a loss. Nobody wants that, especially Ryan Day. And Ryan Day has done some really good things this year to gain the trust of fans and even his bosses. But should Ohio State fans trust Ryan Day this weekend in another top 5 matchup in 2024? I'll tell you next. This episode is brought to you by Roy. Ohio State fans, listen up. You need to download the Roy app. You have heard us talk about Roy this season and how they are revolutionizing the NIL industry. Roy allows you, the fan, to have a say in who gets the NIL money. And here's what I absolutely love about Roy. You get your money back if that player transfers. Roy is always helping us keep our team intact, and it's actually good for the game long term. You can show your support for Carno Tate by depositing a little appreciation onto that player's account. To do that, download the Roy app and you can see what the logo looks like if you're watching on YouTube, or go to joinroy.com. Now let's spotlight the Roy Locked On Player of the Week, which is my guy Carno Tate, because that man had a phenomenal homecoming in his home of Chicago, Illinois. We're going to throw some money into his account on Roy Every contribution counts. 10, 20 bucks. It all adds up and is going to help your favorite players stay put. Join me and show some love for Carnell Tate. Download the Roy app or go to joinroy.com today. Use promo code Locked On. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for full terms. Roy, support the players, change the game. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There are games this weekend. There are games next weekend. There are games all the time. And sometimes we kind of make a decision at the last minute to go to a game that we really want to go to. Head to Game Time. They take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. They also allow you to see a panoramic view from your seat. They got all-in pricing, and they got that lowest price guarantee. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. There's a big question about Ryan Day in big-time matchups and top 5 matchups. That record circulates all the time. When Ohio State's heading into a big-time matchup in a season, it's Ohio State's record under Ryan Day in top 5 matchups. It's not the most stellar thing you're ever going to look at. But we have seen Ryan Day do different things against Oregon. Almost won the game, had a shot to win the game in the final minutes of the game. You also saw Ryan Day do some different things against Penn State, ultimately won that game. Both of those were on the road. Now you have a top 5 matchup at home, which should give everybody a lot more confidence, not only in the players, but in Ryan Day, because I think everybody and their mama can trust Ryan Day in this moment to get the job done. Now, y'all may know, Jay, or you've heard a pod that came out today where I was talking about Ryan Day, and I said, hey, man, sometimes I'm not the biggest Ryan Day guy, or maybe I'm out on Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good coach, but there are times that Ryan Day just doesn't make the right move. I mean, I've talked about it. You may hear later on this week if we're able to get Jeff Hunt on the show in regards to some things that he even sees that Ryan Day kind of doesn't consistently get right. That doesn't mean Ryan Day can't get the job done this weekend. And I think you can trust Ryan Day. And part of it is the hires that he has made. Let's look at Jim Knowles. Let's look at Chip Kelly. Let's go Kelly first and then Knowles, because both of these guys came here because of Ryan Day. Ryan Day hired them. Knowles left Oklahoma State to go to the biggest job he's ever had in college football. Done a lot of great things, brought a lot of good wrinkles. But I think you're going to get the best of Knowles over the next few weeks and over the next month or so, a couple months, because you're going to need it. You're going to need Jim Knowles' A game every single weekend. And with Ryan Day spending more time re-engineering the defense with Jim Knowles watching along and helping get the input, I think this is one of those times where Jim Knowles is going to earn that massive contract that he has. Now, maybe you're saying, Jay, I ain't seen a reason to trust Jim Knowles in top 5 matchups. Did you watch the Penn State game? Penn State's offense didn't even score. So, I mean, if you're saying that you don't trust Jim Knowles and you watch that game, how in the world, if you're going to look at that game and say, well, you don't trust him? The last time he was in the situation, it wasn't in Columbus. It was on the road, and the defense played lights out. Lights out football. So I firmly believe that you can trust Ryan Day, and you can trust Jim Knowles in this situation. Maybe you're someone saying, man, Day ain't the guy. Okay, cool. Day ain't the guy. But Ryan Day may not be the guy for you, but he has definitely been the guy this year to get some things right for Ohio State. They're literally mere seconds away from being undefeated. So I don't care what you think about Ryan Day and saying Ryan Day's trash or you're out on Ryan Day. I don't really care. Ryan Day and Ohio State were mere seconds. If they literally managed to clock better with all the other calls that were called in that game and all the other plays that happened, if they managed to clock better, they would have had a shot to win. And that, I think, is one thing you can hang your hat on, because good coaches sometimes find ways to overcome some abnormal situations in games. There were some unforeseen obstacles, some calls were made, some plays were made, things happened. And you know what? The Buckeyes still had a shot to win. Sometimes the ball bounces your way, sometimes it doesn't. I'm glad that thing didn't bounce to Ohio State's way in the in the regular season, because if that was in the postseason, we'd be having a very, very serious conversation about Ryan Day and about the Ohio State football team, and why, once again, the Buckeyes did not deliver in a big way and make all the right plays in a big game down the road. So, yeah, I think you can trust Jim Knowles. I think Jim Knowles is going to do some good things. You also have a couple guys that you can put the ultimate trust in: Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom, Cody Simon, those three. Something tells me Tui Malowau might do some big things against Indiana. If they literally just set him free, because part of me thinks he's more athletic than what we see on the football field. If they set that cat free, watch out. That's all I got to say about that situation, because I definitely have more to say about Chip Kelly. I have not been overall 100% of the time pleased with all of the calls that Chip Kelly has made during games. I have not. I bet you haven't. There have been some things in short yard situations, 4th and short, 3rd and short, where you're sitting here wondering, why did you make that call? That didn't make any sense at all. Why are we throwing on when it's 2 or 3 yards to get a first down? Why don't we just go ahead and run the ball, move the chains, make that thing happen? And I understand trying to experiment in certain situations, but at some point in time, just got to make the right call. Make the easy call. Did that a lot in that Penn State game, especially down the stretch where Ohio State ran the ball 11 straight times to secure a win. I didn't think there was going to be a Ryan Day team that did that. But then you have Chip Kelly come in, and Chip Kelly understands the assignment. Boom. 6 yards here, 5 yards here. Oh, no game. We're still going to move the ball, and move the ball some more. And I do think Chip Kelly is someone Ohio State fans can trust. I don't always trust coaches in Columbus. You don't either. Remember Kerry Combs' defense? Unfortunately, I do. Remember some of the issues Ohio State's defense had against Oregon a few years ago? I do. Remember some of the things that Georgia did against Ohio State's corners a couple years ago? I do. Remember Clemson in 2019? Absolutely. Remember Michigan 3 years in a row? I remember some of those things the coaches, some of those decisions the coaches made. So yeah, no, you can't always trust coaches in big games. I know that. That's elementary stuff about football. But at this moment, with these coaches, you can trust them. Larry Johnson's unit also is one that I think might shine bright this weekend. As you know, that Indiana is going to try different things to get pressure on you as on the quarterback, and also going to try some different things up offensively to kind of scheme you up. You can have the same trust in Ohio State's coaches to get some things right as well. I also think that Ross Bjork is going to get some things right with the horseshoe, because there are some things people have said about the horseshoe and about kickoffs. I think Ross Bjork has the right thing in mind to possibly bring some necessary changes to the shoe. We'll talk more about that next. This episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There you'll see that right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. This episode is also brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more, and the best service in Central Ohio. Now is the time to reserve a table so you can unwrap years of family fun on Christmas morning. Everything you need for in-home and backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ohio, Canada, billiards, and more. And the grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has a perfect setup for all grillers. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. One thing I love is when somebody comes into a new place, a new occupation, and makes some necessary changes. May it be the boss, the head man, or may it be somebody that's over your group and your job. But whatever it is, I try my best not to get upset when somebody comes in and makes positive change. And that's what Ross Bjork is trying to do right now with Ohio Stadium. Ross Bjork is the new AD replacing Gene Smith at Ohio State. And one thing Ohio State needs to do is change up some of the game day entertainment during games. May it be pregame stuff, definitely the in-game stuff. Stuff needs to change. And I'm glad he's coming in and really showing out and saying, I hear y'all. I see y'all. I even understand your complaints because I have some of the same complaints. So how can we fix everything to make everybody happy? We are going to figure out ways to make things better. Now, he was also asked by 11 Warriors in regards to Big Noon and the kickoffs, and he even realized and said, hey, look, this is an off-season conversation, not an in-season conversation. He understands the contract. He understands that Fox gets the first pick. And he understands that Ohio State has the biggest brand, gets the biggest ratings. So he understands why Ohio State is in that situation. He also went on and added something very, very smart. The three best teams in the Big Ten right now. Well, four. Let's say four. The four best teams in the Big Ten right now. Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, and Oregon. One of them is not like the rest. Oregon's in the Pacific time zone, and if Oregon played at Big Noon, it'd be 9 a.m. local. That's not going to happen. It's truly not going to happen. So I understand why Oregon hasn't had a Big Noon game, but also I don't know if they even had this intact when Oregon was actually in the Big Ten. I don't think so at all. So the contract was put into place, and all of a sudden you add in 4 West Coast schools. And in this year, the biggest brand is Ohio State. It makes sense why contractually things are this way. What doesn't make sense is why things are the way they are inside the shoe. And I've been at the shoe numerous times, and I've enjoyed the games there. But compared to some of the things we see on TV, maybe some of us go to games in other areas, Ohio State's in-game entertainment is kind of lacking. That's a nice way to say it. I don't normally talk about things that way, but you said it. I see a lot of y'all on Twitter and on social media complaining about some of the same things we complain about or I would complain about. It's not good. Ross Bjork is planning on changing some things. I'm going to read this quote to you verbatim, just straight from the boss's mouth, to kind of give you a better picture about what his plans might be. Quote, when we play music, how we play music, what's the script look like in game, all of those things that we're analyzing right now. I think we can modernize, and I think we can be better, and I think we can do more engagement opportunities, and those are the kind of things that we're looking at, end quote. Being able to modernize the biggest brand of the sport is great, but also it shouldn't need to be done because you should already be up with the times. That's a true statement. But also, let's just keep this thing positive, man. It's a Tuesday. It's a Talking Tuesday. Ryan Day is going to be behind the podium talking to the media today. And I don't want to be negative all the time, man, but realistically, things are coming. Changes are coming, and they need to come. I will be a little bit negative here because over the weekend I was watching, was it Tennessee at Georgia? I think it was Tennessee at Georgia. Maybe it was an Alabama home game too. And I have seen a lot of games. If you look at Tennessee at night, Rocky Top, it's rocking, man. It is rocking loud. And they say Rocky Top will always be home sweet home to me. At the man, it feels different. Feels like a big time game. I see Georgia and some schools down in the South do light shows, and they do things with the lights, the stadium lights, kind of flash a little bit and change the colors. And I've seen numerous schools do the Taylor Swift wristbands. I say Taylor Swift because I believe she started them. The wristbands that kind of light up all throughout the stadium. I've seen that too. And you know what we can do, man? I say we, but the school can be ahead of the times. I've seen some high schools do some stuff with light shows, and I'm thinking, why are they doing stuff other colleges aren't doing? It's a high school. Now, you may say, Jay, they need some big money for that, which is true because these lights aren't cheap. But also, Ohio State can be doing a lot of this stuff too. And that will be the end of the negative stuff because I don't want to say like it just means more in the South when the SEC says that, but well, they do stuff different than people do at Ohio Stadium. You might think it just means more. Well, it's about to mean more at Ohio State as Ohio State gets modernized and they use and spend the money in the right way to help Ohio State and to help the fans like us be able to get a better experience in the shoe. And music is one thing. If you go there, if you try to compare Ohio Stadium to fill in this blank school in the South, you're going to realize a night game at Ohio State might have a different feel than a night game at Jordan Hare or at Bryant Denny or at Kyle Field. It might have a different feel. The good thing is that stuff can be in the past. Things can be changed. And with Ross Bjork talking about changing things and his conversation about Big Noon, I wouldn't be shocked if he was actually talking to Ward Manuel about possibly getting a consistent change to the kickoff time of Ohio State, Michigan. And I understand that's a game. You want to get that played as early as possible because there's so much energy and you're so fired up to play. I get that. But something tells me that Ohio State realizes if you're on Fox at 12, that's cool. You're going to get more eyeballs at 3:30. Give me Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson and Jenny Dell. I'm cool with that. If you want to get a whole lot more eyeballs at 7:30, give me Noah Eagle and Todd Black and Catherine Tappan. Give me that. I'm cool with that. So I think Ross Bjork's realizing if you put Ohio State in the game against Michigan head-to-head against the Iron Bowl, you're probably going to get Ohio State to have higher ratings over the Iron Bowl. If you're putting Ohio State and Michigan in the evening, the issue with that is you're running into NBC doing the Notre Dame USC game, and I don't think that's ever going to be one where they're like, no, we're going to put – I personally don't think it's going to happen. So your best bet is to do that 3:30. CBS has already dominated that window for a long time, and they ain't got no problem putting Ohio State against Michigan at that window. Ohio State should want to play there. Michigan should want to play there. Push that game back to later in the day and let more eyeballs watch the biggest rivalry in the sport, as well as Ross Bjork begins the quest or continues to plan to bring changes and modernize the game day experience for Ohio State fans like you. You want a better experience? I want a better experience at games. And Ross Bjork is going to bring that to Columbus, Ohio. And I think you're going to like what he brings to the table. Thank you all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes here on this Tuesday. You can also, and make this show your first listen, tap in to Locked On Big Ten and make that your second listen of the day because my guy, Craig Sheeman, is the guy that puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. Buckeye fans are up out of here on a Tuesday. We'll see you next time.